Good morning.
Okay. A couple of housekeeping things. Once again, good morning. One is, Mr. Khalid, are you on?
No,
Mr.
sir, he's
Khalid?
not.
He's not? He's not on yet?
No, sir.
Okay. We have a pretty aggressive agenda today, which is we're going to have a mandatory executive session, I believe. And so we need to move aggressive as we can. I wanted to say something about the clock. Of course, you know the clock is 5 minutes per person. You can come back around the second time and have 5 more minutes. But what I do want to emphasize is when you ask a question of someone, be it Mr. Donald or whoever, you will allow that person to answer without debate. And then once that person completes her answer, then we'll go back to you. That way we can keep a handle on the time of the clock. And I hope everybody understands that. And Mr. Adams will be handling the clock for us today. Having said that, I'm calling this meeting to order. Madam Clerk.
Good morning, everyone. Roll call for Tuesday, July 28th, regular council meeting. Councilmember Rao.
Present.
Councilmember Gums.
Present.
Councilmember Willis.
Present. And Mayor, I'm requesting 2 minutes privilege after public comments. Thank you.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Here.
Councilmember Reeves.
Accounted for.
Councilmember Khalid.
Present.
Councilmember Baker. Councilmember Baker. Also present is Mayor Edwards, City Manager Odie Donald, and City Attorney Amelia Walker. You have a quorum.
Before we go any further, Mr. Khalid.
Yes, sir.
Glad to have you. Hope you're feeling better and coming back to be a patron of society again pretty soon.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right. Is the chaplain there?
Yes, sir, Mayor.
Go
Mayor,
right
City Council, City Manager, we'd like to begin our council meeting this morning by remembering 2 of our great civil rights icons, C.T. Vivian and Congressman John Lewis. In the moment of meditation in our hearts, we want to just remember that C.T. Vivian organized sit-ins all across the South. He was an advisor to Martin Luther King Jr. and worked for social equality. Congressman John Lewis was full of passion, arrested over 45 times in his life. His mission was to help redeem souls of America. It was in 1956, he says, that at the age of 16, he went to the public library to get books. And he was told the books were for whites only, not colors. And then he made this comment to us. When you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, you have a moral obligation to do something about it. So therefore, in the spirit of an obligation to do something about it, we thank you all for what you're doing. And therefore, let us pray. Oh God, it is in this spirit that we strive to continue to do a better job than we did on yesterday. Remembering, oh God, that many years from now, the things that we do today will touch and affect lives to come. So we ask you to guide our thoughts, guide our hearts, guide the words that come out of our mouth. For those are the things that go into action as people hear. We thank you for our leadership, and we thank you for this day. This we pray. Amen. The Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chaplain and Madam Clerk. Let's get the next item, please.
The next item on the agenda is approval of the council agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, there's some things I want to take off.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to remove number 11, 12, 14, and 15 from the consent agenda to the regular agenda.
11, 12.
14 and 15.
Okay. Are there any other changes? Mayor, we need a motion.
I entertain a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to move number 13, number 11, 12, 14, and 15 from the consent agenda to the regular agenda.
I do not hear a second. Madam Clerk, move on, please.
You need a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
Okay, I entertain that motion, please.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Gums,
Yes.
Willis,
Yes.
Gilliard,
No.
Reeves,
Yay.
Lee,
I'm okay, thanks, Neema.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker. Councilmember Baker. The motion is approved.
Okay. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Next item is the approval of city council meeting minutes, June 23rd.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve city council meetings, minute meetings, from, I'm sorry, I'm trying to bounce back and forth.
June 23rd.
From June 23rd.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Madam Clerk.
Baker,
Aye.
Khalid. Councilmember Khalid. Councilmember Reeves.
Yay.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Willis.
Yes.
Gums,
Councilmember Gomes, yes.
Rao.
Yes.
Motion approved. Next item, council approval of special call meeting minutes for June 29th, July 8th, and 10th.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve council minutes for June 28th, July 8th, July 10th.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Gums,
Councilmember Gomes, yes.
Willis,
Yes.
Gilliard,
Yes.
Reeves,
Yay.
Khalid, Baker, motion's approved.
Aye.
Okay.
Before we go any further, Madam Clerk, I think I had some contingent about your calling of the name. Would you refer to everybody as councilwoman or councilman, please?
Yes, sir.
Go right ahead.
Next is approval of work session minutes, July 14th.
I'll entertain a motion. I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve council meeting minutes from July 14th. Work session.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Baker,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid, Councilmember Reeves,
Yay.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yeah.
Councilmember Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes,
Yes.
Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Motion approved. Next item is a public hearing. Council approval of alcohol license for Sitco Food Mart located at 5100 Cascade Palmetto Highway, Police Department.
We'll open the public hearing.
We did not receive any public hearing comments for this item.
Okay, I close the public hearing. Let's vote. I entertain a motion.
I have a discussion. I have something
Okay.
to say.
Okay, let's get the motion in. Go right ahead. Let's entertain a motion.
Mayor, I requested for 2-minute privileges. Where do I do that? After public comments?
We'll get you in. I'm trying to get a public hearing done right now. We're in public.
Okay. Okay. I move that we close public hearing.
Been closed.
So what are we doing now? Can we, I'm not.
Take a vote. I'm entertaining a motion.
Okay, I move that, for the Citgo license?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I'll let the person who represents that area handle that.
Is there a motion? Hearing none, I'll open it for discussion. I think I have nothing to say, Madam Council Member Gilliard.
There is I have a concern about this gas station. There's one across the street. It sells beer and wine. There's one 2.2 miles down the street that sells beer and wine. There's another one coming up down the street from it. And I just want to make sure that as we give out licenses, well, no, let me back up. I want to make sure that in the zoning rewrite that there is an item for the distance of convenience stores that are selling beer and wine. I do not want it to end up like in some parts of the city where there are over 20 gas stations within 3 miles of each other. So there's not very much to do about this right now, but it really, really needs to be in our zoning such that, that we don't just have a proliferation of them.
Okay, thank you. Is the chief there? Chief Meadows?
Yes, I am, Mayor.
Did this particular applicant is certified under all the rules and procedures that we have for issuing business licenses?
This applicant has met all of the requirements for receiving this particular license. It's my understanding he also met the space requirements as well.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I'll entertain a motion, please.
I'll make the motion because there's nothing I can do about it really. So I'll make the motion.
To approve?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes,
Yes.
Councilmember Willis,
Yes, I was on mute, I'm sorry.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes, reluctantly.
Councilmember Reeves,
Yay.
Councilmember Khalid. You on mute, I can't hear you.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker,
Nay.
motion approved, passes.
Okay, let's go to public comments, and Ms. Willis, I will get you after
We
that.
got one more public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Public hearing, council approval of the Community Development Block Grant Funding Application, Cdra.
I'll entertain a motion.
Would there be a presentation of some sort?
Well, Mayor, I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve the grant.
Okay,
And I second that.
properly moved and second. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor? Ms. Clerk, Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Baker,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Gilliard,
No, because no discussion.
Councilmember Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes,
No.
Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Let's go on to public comment, please.
Public comments. We only have 2 comments. Comments are, the first one, and they're both from the same person, Barbara McGee at 120 Alicant Street in College Park. She would like to know what will replace the anniversary for our city and where will the funds be transferred to the Older American Committee? That's her first comment. Her second comment is, please, how many seats are appointed? How many seats are the South Fulton Convention and Visitors Bureau Board, and the citizens would like to know who make the appointments. Are there any appointees from District 6? And when is the next meeting? That ends public comments.
Okay, go ahead.
You want to do?
Matt, let me do this now. Councilwoman Willis will allow you 2 minutes for privilege.
Okay. Can you all hear me loud and clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I am making this comment at the request of several residents and several employees. In the city of South Fulton, Georgia, our sponsored legislation to mandate all employees take COVID-19 tests before returning to work as part of the city's reopening plan. Now, due to HIPAA laws, personal information can't be released and all personnel information is confidential. Since I legislated this policy, it was essential for me to lead by example. And I did take the test along with several employees on last Wednesday, and my test did come back negative. I would like to encourage all employees, if you have not taken the test, please don't fear. It is uncomfortable, but it does not hurt. But what I do not want to see is us to put another person in ICU or bury another person that is COVID negative. That is COVID positive. I want to see all of you all healthy. And so I did lead by example. I am the policymaker who co-sponsored it with Councilmember Gums, and I did take the test. And I do wear my mask. I do social distance. I do wash my hands, and I do not allow anyone to engage with me who does not have a mask. And I would ask that you do the same. Thank you for all who have taken the test. And I apologize if anyone felt offended that we mandated this, but we mandated this policy out of love and out of protection for the employees in the city. Many employees are walking around that may be COVID positive and don't know it. And so we just want to make sure everyone remains healthy and returns safe to their families. So thank you so much. And I encourage all who have not taken the test to go ahead and take the test. And I also like to encourage my colleagues to do the same.
Thank you so much. Okay, appreciate it. Madam Clerk.
Next item is Chief Financial Officer's monthly report. Mr. Malazzi.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, Mayor and the Council. This is our June 30th financial report. Can I have the second page? We are going through what we have achieved so far up to the end of June. And I'll keep on mentioning this one until maybe September, that we are what we are. You are seeing these positives. It's because of how we started 2019. Without 2019, we wouldn't have been where we are. So we ended with $23.5 million in good. And at the same time, when we are having this, that $23 million, don't forget that we made most of this money from our taxes at the beginning of the fiscal year before the pandemic started. We still get some revenues, but they are nowhere to match with our expenses. We are spending about $7 million and we are receiving about $3 million, but we are good. So you can see 23, if we go as we are without even receiving anything, we'll still make it to end of September. That's the most important thing on that page of we have enough revenues as end of June, and we'll make it to the end of the fiscal year unless something unusual comes up. If I have the next page, As you say that we amended our budget to $68 million for 2020. And out of that $68 million, we have received so far $66 million. We still have got $2 million to get into our 68. It may look to be small, but the way the money is trickling in and our expenses, that's not something we can underestimate. And at the bottom, you'll find out on the expenses, we have $23 million that you have seen there. That's above the expenses. Our expenses is $43 million, but we still have extra of $23 million if you remove 66 total revenue that we have received. We go to the next page. Our next page is a summary of our revenues, talking about our taxes are the main sources of revenues. And we have sales tax. So far, sales tax is about 27% of our total general fund. Into part of the template is talking about, we have got IGA with Fulton County as well as City of Atlanta. There were some discussions that we had with the City of Atlanta. We have resolved those ones and we have started receiving our revenues as intended. And we expect no hiccups on IGAs up to the end of the fiscal year. We are anticipating to receive our 100% budgeted for fiscal year for our IGA. Most revenues lines are still lagging behind because services are not being provided. So they are not there until maybe we return to our facilities, which, as all you know, that is not soon to be. If we go to the next template, next page. Property tax, we have received about 239 in the month of June. And this is the repetition of sales tax is 27% of the general fund. And we had a slight increase in the month of June, much better than we expected. We received more than we thought. But in all, we have been, from the time we started in March, we have lost more than, we are behind more than $500,000. We were receiving about $2.2 million, but we ended up receiving up to $1.7 million. Now we moved up this fiscal year, this month of June, from 1.7 to 1.9. So it's a good direction, but we don't know how much people are spending out there because we are 1 month behind receiving our sales tax. It has to be noted that even though we have more money, we have received it, but still our expenses will keep on going and our revenue are being reduced. So the $23 million that you have seen will soon disappear, but we are comfortable that we will end the fiscal year and get into the new fiscal year in good shape. In case I forget, it has to be noted that we need to be very fiscal responsible as we end the fiscal year so that we can do the same thing we did last year to bring in more money in the new fiscal year, because our tax due, which is our main source of income, we have already received the information from the Fulton County Tax Commissioner's Office that the tax will be delayed, so they will not be due October 15th, but they will be due November the 15th. So hence it's very important that we still make sure we have enough for payroll and other expenses as we start a new fiscal year before we receive our tax money. And that's why I think we will need today by any means discuss about our tax digest so that we know what our millage rate will be in preparation for most of these things. If I go to the next page, this is a summary of taxes, that 65% of our taxes, which is the main source of revenue, is coming from residential. Then 29% of our commercial, our taxes are coming from commercial. It's a bit discouraging on commercial side of it, as you saw this year's the tax digest, that we are losing businesses from the city. This year, 2020, we have lost 130 million value of taxes, which I think we'll get into details of why are we losing values, or why are we losing businesses from the city into other jurisdiction. In this case, it's 100%, almost 100%, I can be sure that we are losing businesses to Fulton Industrial. And the question will be, what has changed? Because 2017, we knew that these properties are in the city of South Fulton. And all of a sudden, those properties are being moved into Fulton Industrial. That's something that we need to find out, because we can't continue losing businesses. Last year we lost, and this year again we have lost. That has contributed significantly into our reduction of tax digest values. And that's also in addition to the homestead exemptions that we gave, that has really affected our 2020 tax digest. If we go to the next slide. It's a summary of revenues. Still, we get the bottom line of year to date, $66 million, which is 100%. And you see property taxes is 29. We're at 45, which is 45% of our revenues. Motor vehicle is 1% of our revenues. Franchise fees is 5%. Sales tax is 24%. Business license is 24. At the bottom, we have 100% of our taxes, and we have received 66 out of the 68 amended budget of 2020. Next. Property tax budgeted at $29 million. We are almost there. So remember, this is amended. This is not what we budgeted at the beginning of our fiscal year budget. This is amended because we knew we are not going to make it. So on amended, we are almost there. And local option sales tax, again, we amended it to $18 million from $25 million. We have received so far $16 million. We are sure we are going to make it to that $18 million. So everything we discuss here, don't forget, is amended budget. Next slide. So we amended our general fund 68, and we have received 66 out of our $103 million total budget. That's general fund plus other funds. We have received so far $96 million. That's the most important thing on this page. If we go next. As of June 30th, expenditures have gone to at 63% of the 2020 amended budget. And we can't thank much to our departments that they have contributed to this low expenditure, because of majority of these ones is the reduction of expenses, but also not filling the positions that they were allowed to fill, especially in the public safety area. That's CPD, as well as fire and the community development services, that they have kept them. And that's why we are at that 63%. That will also help us minimize expenses, and that will allow us to spend less than budgeted and go into the new fiscal year, hoping with a better balance. The city will be able to meet payroll and other obligations. So far, there's no problem that we can foresee. Effects of revenue shortfall will continue beyond the 2021 fiscal year, because as we are now, we are already talking at 2021, but still it will go beyond. It's not just one fiscal year, this shortfall, it will have that effect for some time. So in anything we prepare, anything we do, we have to know that we are here for a long haul. The finance team has recommended the 2020 amended budget will be the basis for 2021. This one we talked, the city manager presented, I did present, and each and every member of the governing board should know that we have to do the best that we can do to limit our expenses, because if we don't, there will be no option. We have to increase taxes, because that will be the only way we can meet it. So the better we can do to minimize our expenses in 2021, it will be much, much better. Next slide. So here's the distribution of every department that you see how much we have spent year to date and where we are. We combine all our governing body in one, but the mayor is differently. So you see the summary of every department year to date, how much we have spent, and we end up at $43.1 million at the bottom of second column from right. And all it adds up at the 100%. So amended budget total $68.7 million. We have spent so far $43.1 million. Next slide, please. Summary of expenses. Personnel is the biggest expenditure. As I talked about how much we have done, good job that we have done, we are almost half of the budgeted expenses. 40, we have spent just above half, $22 million. And on operations, $28 million, we are at 20. We are doing very, very good if we can maintain this way, both in the personnel as well as in the operations. Don't forget that we are covering every city employee in personnel. There is no employee that has missed check since we went into lockdown in March. We have taken care of every employee that they don't lose pay. Next slide. The biggest expenditure, as with every organization, is in personnel. So our cost, 61% of our total cost is in personnel, and operation is 29%. Supplies and other needs that helps us to do our job is only 10%. Next slide, please. This is our total expenditure. As you see, as of June, in June, our total expenditure at the bottom of the page is $7.3 million. And our total expenditure year to date is $53 million from our 103 total budget. So we are still doing good even with other funds. We are just slightly above of a half of what we budgeted for. And this one should not make us pull back, because you never know, anything can be, and we can spend more than we anticipated. But if we maintain and everything is as they are, we should be good. Next slide. Summary of revenues. It's a summary or just putting more information on what we have already covered at the top. And the state of South Fulton started with fiscal year 2020 with sufficient cash reserve from 2019. The reserve fund has helped the city to meet its financial obligations. And let's do the best that we can do so that we do the same in taking into account that our tax receipts will be coming a month later. So we are hopeful that in any way out, we will make it. we expect to experience a big reduction of property tax revenue in 2021 as a result of property. People will be losing homes and some will not be able to pay their mortgages. We are watching carefully of what federal government is trying to do to assist people who have lost job if they can maintain to keep on paying their expenses. Next slide. It's a continuation of the summary of revenues. I want to dedicate more time into, let me just mention low revenues from municipality court following the closure, PD services. Again, these are to do with the services that we are supposed to have been providing, but because of the facilities closures, we are not getting revenues. However, we may still be getting revenues, but not to the amount we would have been receiving. Courts have started providing virtual services, and some departments maybe slowly will be getting it, but not up to full until we get back to our facilities. So revenues are still down, but we are managing and we will make it. I will dedicate this remaining time of it if I have any comment, any question, which will be the next slide. And I think we'll be talking more on tax digest, I think sometime today. Any question, any comments with what you have observed, or you need additional clarifications anywhere else, this is your time.
Mayor, do we go in the queue or how do you want to recognize us?
The queue is open.
Okay, I'll put it, I'm in the queue. I'm waiting to be recognized by the mayor.
Movement. Before we go into the queue, Ms. Gilliard, are you having, you say you wanted to go after Mr. Khalid, but I didn't see you in the queue.
No, I didn't say, no, I didn't say I was saying anything.
Okay, good. Okay, in the queue, I have Mr. Khalid, then Ms. Willis.
All right. Well, first, I just want to start off by thanking Mr. Malazzi. The fact that we are able to meet all of our financial commitments this year and made sure that not a single City of South Fulton employee missed a paycheck, I think is a testament to your watchful eye over our city's finances. So thank you so much for that. I just had a question. We talked a little bit about the millage rate and the budget dates. Or the upcoming budget hearings. Mr. Mayor, I don't see that anywhere on the agenda. Would this be the place to talk about that calendar for budget hearings that we had?
Yes, sir.
All right, so if you all, I will just make this comment because I would like to hear feedback from our, from our council. But there was a set of budget dates that was proposed. The way that I understood these budget dates, and I wanted to share my screen, but I can't. Perhaps you could chime in too, Mr. Donald, it was your document, but it looks like we have, there was something proposed for August the 11th, and we cannot meet on the 11th. That's an election day. So I don't know if that should have been August the 10th, in addition to our regular work session on August the 12th. I just want us, I would like to make a motion to approve this budget calendar that has been presented so that we can begin like organizing our own calendars.
Was your question,
Mr. Donald, can I say something before you get in?
No, I didn't recognize you. The question was to Mr. Donald about a specific date. Go ahead.
Well, but I think it is more appropriate for Mr. Malazzi. Is actually a calendar that was produced by the city treasurer. I provided it to the council upon receipt, noting that it was a draft document for conversation with the council. I'd also like to ensure that as we talk through it, you also look at the other details that I provided to give context to that budget calendar, because there were some subsequent recommendations that I believe have been largely ignored or not addressed in our email correspondence. With that, I'll turn it over to the city treasurer for a formal response.
Now, Mr. Malazzi.
Thank you, Mayor. The most important thing about that calendar seems to be so densely populated. On one condition, we'll have to decide somewhere, somehow, or you have to give us signs today that we are going to raise tax or we are not raising tax. If we are not going to raise taxes, most of the fresh that are in that calendar will be removed because there will not be public hearings. We need to have 3 public hearings if we are raising taxes from our rollback. And we need to have that information only Thursday, this coming Thursday, because we have to advertise. We have, there's a week, 10 days, there are all those procedures. But if there's a sign that we are not going to increase Mirage rate from the rollback, which is 12.399, everything will be simple and we will remove a lot of information in that calendar.
Mr. Khalid?
So is this?
Mr. Khalid?
Yes, sir.
Could you allow me to say one thing before you come on?
Go ahead.
All right. Mr. Malazzi?
Yes, Mayor.
I got a question to ask of you as our financial consultant, and a question not to be answered by what the council may do. All right. You mentioned economic down versus spirals. You mentioned tax increase. The question is, as our financial person, what is your recommendation on tax increase?
So several things, Mayor. I think I mentioned in the memo that I sent yesterday. First, we have to know that our maximum tax is 13.4 mils. You can't go beyond that before we go to...
And I understand that, that's clear. I just want your recommendation, saying of everything you give us, what is your recommendation as our financial person when it pertains to a tax increase?
So I would have some of the things we can't go back. Everything that I have done was to leave it on rollback where we are now. Leave it on rollback and just look into our expenses.
So your recommendation is not to have a tax increase?
That's correct.
Okay, that's the answer I wanted. Thank you so much, Mr. Khalid. Go ahead.
So my question is, here is the calendar that you presented to us. And I just tried to distill it into something that was more manageable to understand. My question for Mr. Donald and Mr. Malazzi, are these the dates that, aside from the millage rate, that's a separate question, are these 8 dates the dates of the 8 meetings that we need to have in the next 2 months? If we are to approve that calendar, are we approving meeting these 8 days?
So it may not be just that easy, because we have to remove some of what we added on if there will be no public hearings, then we will have to remove some of those dates and we can make some adjustments.
So I'm not counting I have the millage rate vote in here one time, but we do have to have 3 public hearings to adopt the budget, correct? Aside from the millage rate, we have to have 3 public hearings, right?
That's true.
And then we have to have department budget.
It's not required to have 3 public hearings, but for transparency, it's recommended you have 3 public hearings. It's really recommended.
Okay, so you recommended 3 public hearings. department budget presentations, which have taken 2 days every year that we've done them, and a 1-day budget retreat.
And out of the 3 public hearings, you can have 2 public hearings in 1 day. You can have 1 10 o'clock and you can have in the evening. So 3 can be done in 2 days. We have done that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll turn it over to council. I would like for us to approve this calendar that I'm showing now. I think that it makes sense. It's in accordance with all of our resolutions, and it's in accordance with the calendar that you just sent out. So,
Are you making a motion, sir?
yeah, sure. That is my motion to approve this calendar as it appears.
There a second?
Second.
Properly moved and second. Discussion. I have in the queue, Ms. Willis.
Yes.
Ms. Willis?
Well, yes, I had a question about his presentation and we jumped into this budget
Yeah,
adoption.
we're in conversation. Go ahead.
So Mr. Malazzi, can you go back to the slide where you highlighted the different revenues, taxes, and you had a line item on there for other taxes?
The clerk's office, can you help me to bring the slide, please?
Mr. Clerk, suspend the clock, would you?
Yes, I'm trying to get it,
All right.
And so there was a slide where you listed every tax that we're receiving revenue from, where you listed all of our revenue. And you
That's
had
number 3. Next one, the next one.
Excuse me 1 minute. Madam Clerk, do you have the clock ready?
yes, sir.
Find the slide first, Mayor. So can you go on?
The next one. Yeah.
Next. 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 Here. Revenue, property to other revenue. Can you expound on other taxes? Can you expound on that? What are the other taxes? And then what is the other revenue?
Other taxes is the biggest there. In other taxes is the premium insurance.
Okay.
That's the biggest one. Then you have some that does not fall. Remember, this is the condensed, so that does not fall in the one that is above. You have sometimes people when they sell houses, they have to pay us taxes. They are part of that other taxes. And
what's the name of that tax?
I'll give you the name. When they are selling it, they have to pay us. They have to give the city when you are selling house, exchanges of house.
Okay.
Then on the other revenues here, it's this we should not count on because it's one-time revenue that we had. So in this case, as you remember, the clerk's office had to pay money to Fulton County to hold our elections. And it happened that the cost was much, much less than projected. So they had to refund us. So that's a refund. It's one-time revenue that is not there all the time.
Okay.
So we had to put it in there. It will not be there next year. And some of these ones are other revenues, may be donations that we get. And you see most of the donations, they tell what that money can be used for. They ask you that they will not, they will just give it to the city. Then we will allocate it to other revenues or miscellaneous.
Okay. Okay. And so that other taxes is the 7 million, majority of it is the premium insurance tax.
Yes, ma'am. As you know that it helped us last year.
I understand what premium insurance tax is. I just wanted to know what the other taxes were in that line. So offline, can you just please send the entire council what that whole line is comprised of?
So in there you have the, okay, I will send it over to you in details.
Thank you.
Are you finished, Ms. Willis?
Yes, I yield.
Okay, are you finished?
Yes, I yield.
Okay, okay, Ms. Rao?
Yes, this is in a reference to some information Mr. Malazzi shared earlier about the reduction in revenue from properties on Fulton Industrial. Have you worked with to look at all those parcels in that area to make sure they match the boundaries of the city, to make sure we're not losing revenue that we should be entitled to? Because I know you mentioned that we lost money last year, but we haven't had any annexations per se. So is it just they're cleaning up their records? What's going on between the discrepancies?
So last year, yes, we did. We had even to engage our IGS, and he confirmed. I think you were also involved one way or the other, but yeah, management and IGS, we confirmed that it was. But my problem last year was the tax assessor. Once they knew that so much value, property value was being moved from one jurisdiction into the other, why they didn't tell us in advance. And I reached out to the chief assessor, who promised that he was going to provide information and to let us know next time that thing happens. And it has happened again. This time we are discovering this during the tax digest. They didn't tell us here are the businesses that are moving. Like now, we have not yet received the listing of these businesses. Last year, we requested it and they gave us. So we are expecting to get that listing. But in addition to that, I think yesterday you saw one of you, specifically Mayor Pro Tem, wants the chief assessor to come and explain to the city why the businesses are being moved away from us. And if that's so, why we are not being told in advance that this is what is going to happen, other than discovering it in the tax digest.
I guess my question is, if that is occurring, that seems like that meeting needs to happen like yesterday to find out.
Yes, it is going to happen. So we have 2 days for adoption of the Mirage rate. If we are going to have Mirage rate increase, that means it will be on the 19th of August. If we don't have Mirage rate increase, we will adopt that one on the 12th of August. And we'll be making all we can do to have either have a special called meeting, because it's very important that he has to come and explain before the governing body what is happening. So yes, we will have that meeting.
And is it not correct, based on other communication, we have to adopt it by August 16th? Is that the drop dead date?
Because if
we do anything different with the millage rate than last year, we have to do something by August 16th. Is that correct?
No, we have been asked by Fulton County to submit our Mirage rate by the 15th of August. But if we delay, the longest we can delay is up to the 19th. Just know that the more we delay, the more it will make them delay to have bills sent out.
Agreed. So whatever calendar, we have to back it up from that August 15th date. All of those hearings are the things that Councilman Khalid pointed out, correct?
Yes. So we have to, when we are doing Mirage rate calendar, like here we are dictated on when can we adopt, then we go backwards. So we fill in backwards. So in this case, if we take, because now if you say we are not going to have Mirage rate increase, that means we will not have 3 public hearings, but we just have to publish it. So we just have to publish it. Let's say we send it on Thursday. It's just publishing the 5-year history that within our city. Mirage rate is a requirement. But if you have mirage rate more than the rollback, you have to have those 3 public hearings.
And just for final, your recommendation is that we increase, correct?
Mm-mm.
No?
No, this is just my suggestion. Depends on what we are going to do. I think there is little estate topic that we'll be discussing. I don't want to go ahead of it.
Okay, I got you.
So
Thank
we
you.
can discuss that during the real estate.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. For clarification, Ms. Rao, his answer was to your question was no. And as
Right,
I
I got it. I got it.
okay. Councilwoman Willis, and we will close with Councilmember Willis. Councilmember Willis. Is she?
I was on mute.
Yeah.
Are these properties that we'll lose industrial, are these annexations? Are they annexing into Fulton Industrial? Or just moving into Fulton Industrial?
So we just have to justify. Once they send us the listing, we'll know the addresses. But last year, all what we lost went to Fulton Industrial. So I am almost certain that majority, if it's not all, they are also going to Fulton Industrial. But until we get the listing of those businesses, I can't be 100% sure.
Mr. Reeves, we are closing out after Ms. Willis.
Thank you.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Madam Clerk, will you restate the motion, please?
The motion is to approve the budget calendar that Councilmember Khalid presented. It was motioned by Councilmember Khalid, second by Councilmember Baker.
Let's vote, please. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Rao,
Nay.
Councilmember Gomes,
No.
Councilmember Willis,
No.
Councilmember Gilliard,
No.
Councilmember Reeves,
Nay.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Someone please mute your phone, please.
Hello?
Councilmember Baker.
Yay.
Motion fails.
Okay, next item, please.
Next item is approval of consent agenda items 8 through 16.
I move that we approve the consent.
Wait, hold it. City managers monthly
I'm
report.
sorry, the city manager's report.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. I will be brief and move quickly through this report. I think one opportunity that I wanted to quickly highlight is to ensure that we expand testing for both our residents and staff. We've been approached and are working through a partnership with Sampson Tours and effectively is a partnership with the Aerotropolis Alliance to offer mobile COVID testing throughout the city. We anticipate offering testing at 4 city parks to accommodate the testing schedule. The dates are being considered, and so no decision has been made. We are looking for, but we're working through the process. So I wanted to make sure we got out in front of it and let you know. August 13th, 18th, 20th, and 27th, those will be available to the general public, although they will also be available to our staff members. I think you're aware that about a week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks now, I did a citywide webinar with our staff going over the resolution, the process, the requirements, and the opportunities where we notified them we would offer both public and semi-private testing like we did the first round. We will continue this all the way through reopening, which looks to be later than the initial proposed dates in the city's reopening plan. But again, those potential dates are August 13th, 18th, 20th, and 27th. They are not final, but we did want to put those on your radar so that you would be aware that those things are coming forward. In addition to that, I wanted to notify you again, should be in your packets, is online and has been distributed, the monthly city managers report. I want to just bring that back because there's a wealth of information, most of which has been requested by council and our public. And so a library of these reports, because the information remains valid forevermore. And so one thing that it includes is a library of memorandums that are provided by council. There were 30 in the month of June, and while those things were distributed in June, the information remains valid and available and accessible at any time. In addition to that, any COVID-19 related activities, memorandums, or information is fully available both to the council and the general public, and is included on the COVID-19 page on the website, another library, so that everyone is aware of what is occurring and happening. And is that setup is one of the most transparent tools that any city is doing in our region. In addition to that, key things that are highlighted in there as recent requests from council: updates on virtual court. I think I sent, I sent the memorandum to the council, but for the public's knowledge, our municipal courts page has been updated on the website. You can actually access it and learn everything you need to know about virtual court. It now includes direct contact information, as well as details on how to request court dates and other activities like that, as well as the decorum required for virtual court. We also, to increase our transparency around finance operations, we have finalized our partnership with OpenGov and brought that to a close, to where currently all members of the public may access real-time, up-to-date information on OpenGov. Even further, as we move forward with this condensed budget calendar, we have created a process. It was my intent to make our budget deliberations public for both the public and the council. That has been kind of difficult to do with the scheduling and the demands on staff. So we have actually recorded those deliberations, and we'll be providing them to the council and having those available online. That will allow folks to not only understand what goes into the making of the budget, but the tough decisions that are being made as we try to create a very holistic draft budget to transmit to council, despite some very difficult fiscal times due to the corona pandemic. One of the few places in the country that are providing that level of access to all parties before the budget is transmitted. Another addition to this city manager's report is an overview of grant activities. And so included in this grant report, because we've just updated it, it provides all of the activities from review, consideration, and the status update on the grants. And so that is readily available and accessible for anyone at any time. In addition to that, I think you'll see that our public has really gotten involved with the Citizens Response Center. We now have 24,000 total requests. Of those 24,000 requests, 94% of them have been resolved successfully. The others are pending, or they are duplicative. We still count them though, so we probably resolve more than that 94%. But it is also, the CRC is kind of beyond capacity right now. Now that we have gone to more online service delivery, we are getting more than 1,500 calls more than our original average, about a 54% increase on a weekly basis. Another update for our council, I have sent to you today the draft GICH application. I know that it's, I believe, on the agenda today to discuss, but it is in your inboxes, and it must be submitted by the 7/31 deadline. That information is also in the city manager's report as well. And as you know, we're working with the city treasurer and all executive staff to complete and submit a balanced draft budget for the council's review. That is pending, but we have some good news that has kind of helped us relieve some of the stress on that budget, and that is that despite the coronavirus pandemic and the current health crisis, we have kept our benefits costs flat for FY21, and we actually have the option to reduce because we received a 7% reduction citywide in our Anthem's benefits. So we'll be able to pass those savings on to our staff and relieve our budget. That concludes the city manager's report. I'll take any questions that you might have.
I just have one. I'm in the queue. I'll wait to be recognized.
And while the mayor is recognizing, I apologize. I got kicked off during the, what do you call this? The discussion on the budget calendar. Just wanted to remind the council that I do believe that it has been our practice to approve a budget calendar. I think Mr. Malazzi provided a draft budget calendar, but it did need to include or be updated with the dates related to the budget hearings, and more so those regarding the millage rate. If the date is if you are going to increase the millage rate, which I didn't hear it, I think we forwarded his recommendation in writing, and I think he, as well as the rest of us, are learning as we go through this process because we received the updated tax digest before he provided his after he provided his recommendation. I think initially the recommendation was to accept the rollback rate of the 12.399. I apologize, I don't have it in front of me, but he received the tax digest, which actually, according to the tax assessor, right-sized those properties that were in unincorporated Fulton County and removed them from our digest. That lowers our actual receipt of revenues dramatically for a city our size. And so his recommendation tentatively changed to increasing the millage rate to, I believe, the 13 point, I apologize, I just don't have it in front of me, but it would be a formal tax increase. One thing that I would like to make sure that we clarify is, while the rollback rate does not require those public hearings, all of those things represent a tax increase for the normal citizen. And so it is an increase in what they place out of their pocket. I think the balance and the levity that the government has to think about is there is a service level expectation. And so depending on what decision is made, it directly impacts our level of service as well as our ability to maintain current staffing levels. And so I would defer to the city treasurer, who is our on-staff subject matter expert, to go into greater detail in those things and provide a formal recommendation to council. Once he does so, I believe it is imperative that at either today or at some time in the very near future, the council have a format for which they can make a decision to approve both the millage rate and the budget calendar. I hope that provided the clarity that you needed, and you may have already went over that when I was kicked off of the Zoom.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'm waiting to be recognized. Is something going on with the mayor?
Yeah, I think his thing is on mute, and he was suffering the same issue that I had. I think if you give him a second, he'll be.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Manager,
Yes, sir.
please make sure that when you come into a conversation, please let the chair acknowledge you.
I apologize, sir.
I had already called Mr. Reeves. Constable Reeves.
Yes. Oh, yes. Okay. As far as the tax digest, residents do not have the city of South Fulton taxes on their bill. In some cases, And after checking by the residents with the tax commissioner's office and verified by the tax commissioner's office that the city of South Fulton taxes are not on their bill, what is the time frame to have that issue rectified, and can it be rectified before we set the budget? Although I know the tax digest has come out already.
Mr. Manager?
Mr. Malazzi, can you, I know that you've had some conversations about that. We received, for your knowledge, Councilmember Reeves, we've received those inquiries and questions as well. And I know that the city treasurer this week reached out to the tax commissioner's office and met with them yesterday. So I would defer to him to provide feedback on that.
So the tax digest and bills are different. The digest is to tell the government this is how much we are going to bill. The billing has not yet done. The bills for State of South Fulton have not gone. They will go end of August. They go end of July, so we can have our tax due October the 15th. But they are going to go at end of August, so we can have our tax due November. So there are some that we dealt yesterday. If you know any of them, let us know. Elderly people, most of those ones will not have their value, may have completely been covered by the tax exemptions, homestead exemptions. So we need to know, you let us know who are those ones. If they are elderly ones, most of those ones I dealt with them is because of that. But if it's not, let us know before the bills go out. Bills have not yet gone out. If those are just testing.
All right, good deal. I will definitely do that, because it's actually in this District 5 over here, it is actually a whole subdivision and some spread out. So I will get them to get you that information, sir. Thank you.
But is it correct, Mr. Malazzi, that what you're also kind of telling them is that these are their assessments that they're receiving, their values, not their bills? Because that's the delineation of why it's not on there. Is that not correct?
That's true. There are assessments, but at the same time, last year they sent something that was like a bill, but it was not a bill. Bills have not been sent out. So that news, the whole section you are talking about, the new subdivision, there must be something if it's the whole of that. But yes, Mr. Donald, those are assessments. And if it's a new subdivision, that means they were not there last year. They have to be added by the tax assessor. And if it have been omitted by the tax assessor, we need to add, because that will be a reduction of values in our city.
All right, I will get that, but no, this subdivision is over 10 years old, so it is definitely not new. But as stated, I will get them to forward you the information, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, we have the tax administrator that will work around. If we can't, then we get in touch with the tax commissioner.
Okay. Next, we have Councilmember Willis and Councilmember Khalid, and we will close out with Councilmember Khalid.
Yes, I have two. Well, I received mine, Councilmember and Mr. Malazzi. What was mailed out and what is always mailed out around this time of year is a tax assessment.
Yes.
And typically, the tax assessor I've had come out and do meetings. And so Councilmember Reeves reach out to your county commissioner because it falls under the purview of Fulton County. I have worked with my commissioner in getting a tax assessor to come out and explain the tax assessment. My second question is for Mr. Donald. Thank you for your report. Will the municipal court calendars be published? That is a great need for people to be able to go online and see the municipal court calendars.
Mr. Manager?
And it's something I've been asking for quite some time. So I'm glad we're moving in a direction to get more stuff online, but we really need the court calendars online as well.
I'm sorry, I was muted. Yeah, so our court calendar, I'll send a site map, but those things are uploaded and accessible through the new municipal court page. I know they were waiting for one update, which I included in my correspondence of the memorandum, but I believe it should be live by now or by week's end, if not. But yes, that's included in the update as detailed in the memorandum.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Councilmember Khalid, and we'll go to the next item.
Okay, I'm going to start my first question.
Mr. Khalid, we don't hear you.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes.
My first question was about this vacancy rate. I was really concerned with the like 66% vacancy rate in information technology and the 40% vacancy rate in communications, because I think those are two, communicating with our residents and being able to use the technology in this time just seem like really important things. Would you like to just say something about that?
Yeah, you would have to put that into context. So when you think about communications, there are only 4 people. So they've got one person missing and they have one position that we decided not to fill. So that gives you an extremely large percentage number. Do you understand? So if you've got
I do.
4 people and you're missing 2, you got a 50% vacancy rate. It's the same thing for IT. You had some positions that we decided not to fill because we're in the midst of a global pandemic. We still have to count those in the rate. But if we did not do that, we wouldn't have enough money to be able to meet all of our obligations. So those are purposeful decisions that we've made to ensure that the city can continue to run forward. But the staff that you have seen hasn't been reduced, and those positions are still either filled or posted to be filled. So the same level of staffing remains, but all growth numbers have been reduced so that we can meet our obligations for current staff.
Okay, no, I get that. There's small departments, so small cuts make big percentage changes. I just wanted to register my concern that I think those are 2 departments that in this time I think we need to have growing. My second question actually comes from my constituents. We had there seemed to be like some confusion and some seniors who were trying to get trash scheduled for the bulk trash pickup collection day.
Yeah.
And it just, it didn't seem to go well for some people. So I thought I might give you a chance to explain what happened and how we can maybe improve it for our fall or November day.
Well, I'll tell you, with folks being cooped up in the house for about 4 months, the response was much more than what we had projected. I think one of the biggest issues that we saw, though, is the registration. While there were, I think, let's call it about 15% of all of the, let's say, non-picked up trash, those folks actually did register, and there were some misses on pickup. I think you guys have received the update that those items have been resolved. But the largest number of non-pickups were for folks who actually did not register. And so that also was included in the memorandum, but we have included a solution for that as well. One is in areas like that, anyone who is registered, whether they register for the pickup or not, if they are registered, then they would be listed as an area for pickup. That way they don't have to register for bulk trash in advance. They simply have to put it out. And so we would, but that also means they have to actually have trash service. And so again, one of what we did this time in hopes of capturing folks who didn't have trash service, but for us to, pick up the trash so that it does not be illegally dumped, we were giving people an option to register for bulk trash in advance. Moving forward, what we'll do is simply anyone who is registered and is in compliance and having trash service will be listed as a pickup spot, so there will be no responsibility or requirement for residents.
Okay, thank you. These last 2 questions are just about our budget again. Mr. Malazzi, I found the email that you sent describing the rollback rate. For those of us who are maybe not so great at math, could you just give us a real world example? If I had a home that was valued at $200,000 what would be the difference in taxes I would pay between 12.39 mils and 11.579?
And before we go there, let me just alert you to the fact that we have had a city finance report prior to the city manager's report. So we must keep our questions germane to the city manager's report, but I'll allow that. Go ahead. Mr. Malazzi.
So, Councilwoman Khalid, I will make some calculations. I can't just answer that. I will make calculations and will send that one and share with the public. But as Mr. Donady stated, that even though rollback is not going to be, will not have public hearings, but because of the reduction of the values, our rollback is higher than the current tax rate. Our current tax rate is 11.579. We are going to 12.399. And if we want to increase more, there will be, so that will be a second addition of increase. So far, what we have now is 4% increase. Then we'll calculate for you. I'll send it to you. Today, you'll get that information and we can share with the public. So there is an increase, even just with rollback, there's an increase.
Okay, I will look forward to that. I will look forward to that email. We have, so we're not going to go backwards. We have 5 to 8 days of budget meetings that we need to calendar for. We didn't vote on that. The zoning moratorium that we have in place ends September 30th. Is that correct? Is that what we push that extension to?
Mr. Manager?
I'm sorry,
Madam Attorney, if you're available.
I'm sorry, I was having issues with my Zoom again. Could you, I apologize, Council Member Khalid, could you restate your question?
The zoning moratorium, I pushed for an extension to the end of the year, but I believe that we only did it till the end of this fiscal year, which is September 30th. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So in addition to the 5 to 8 budget meetings that we need to plan in the next 2 months, we will also need to be planning zoning hearings and zoning votes in that same time frame, unless we extend the zoning moratorium. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you all so much, Madam Clerk.
Yes, the next item is approval of consent agenda items number 8 through 16.
I move that we approve the agenda items 8 through 16.
Second.
Probably moved to second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes,
Yes.
Councilmember Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard, Councilmember Gilliard, Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker,
Aye.
Councilmember
Councilwoman,
Gilliard,
no.
Motion
Councilwoman
passes.
Gilliard, no.
Motion passes.
Okay, next item, please.
Next item on the agenda is previous agenda items, council second reading and adoption of amending Appendix G, disbanding committees.
This item comes with us with the 4 votes already, I assume, on the amendment. However, I do see Mr. Khalid in the queue. Am I correct, Ms. Khalid?
Yes.
Okay, well, go ahead.
Well, I want to follow up with a question that was asked by one of my residents, Ms. McKee. This senior gala, this senior event is like one of our most popular events in the city. And so I just want to understand, is disbanding the senior committee also doing away with this gala next year?
I would say not. Mr. Manager, what would you say? I would say not.
Mayor, it's my resolution.
I understand, and you're in the queue. Let us deal with Mr. Khalid.
Well, I would defer to the author of the resolution, Mayor, to give her insights on this. I think it was cut or reduced from the budget, which the city treasurer would need to confirm that I believe that 10,000 expenditure was removed from the FY20 budget, but has not been addressed in the FY21 budget. If the author of the resolution or the full council, because that's what it would take to include it in future budgets, have a perspective, it would assist us in as we go through budget development. If it is to still be included for FY21, giving us that guidance today would be very helpful to my team, and I'm sure the city treasurer would appreciate that guidance as well.
Mr. Khalid, would you yield to Councilmember Willis?
No, I'll wait till Mr. Khalid gets finished, and I'm in the queue, so I'll be wait till
You're in the queue. You're in the queue.
Is
Go
he
ahead.
finished?
I'm not.
Mr. Khalid, go ahead.
Okay.
So that is one of my questions is doing away with the senior committee and also doing away with the annual committee. Does that get rid of either of those celebrations? And if it does not, who would be responsible for those celebrations? And then lastly, I would just like to register my strong opposition to getting rid of the finance committee at a time when we have so many tough financial decisions to make. I think that we need we need to be enlisting the help of our residents and the involvement of our residents as much as possible.
Okay. All right, Councilmember Willis, go right ahead.
I would like to move the previous question with explanation, Mayor.
If you move the previous question, you can't. That's it.
Yes, I can. I can't give explanation. I can't give explanation.
Excuse me. Let me.
Question.
I would take a vote on move the previous question. Is that what you're doing?
Can you ask the parliamentarian, because I am allowed to give explanation on why I'm moving the previous question.
She said that the last time too, Ms. Willis, but I'll give her opportunity to say. Parliamentarian.
That will be the city attorney.
Parliamentarian is the city attorney.
Yes, I'm sorry. I was talking. I didn't realize my phone was on mute. I apologize. Yeah, if it is Councilwoman Willis's turn to speak, then she can move the previous question with explanation as to why. And then the council, it would be up to the council to determine whether or not they're in discussion based on her request.
All right. Okay. Based on, for the record, that's what the parliamentarian said. You have a motion to for the previous question. Is there a second?
I'm moving the previous question because we had lengthy discussion on this during the work session. We have somebody phone is, I hear a lot of feedback.
Would you please mute your phones and everything so we can don't hear the feedback? Go ahead, Ms. Willis.
I'm moving the previous question because we had lengthy discussion about disbanding these committees and on the last work session. We have 4 sponsors. We have gone back and forth. The money that we are moving, due to the pandemic, we were not able to have the senior event. There was a lot of chaos in planning the anniversary task force. So we just thought it was in the best interest for us and to move forward with disbanding all of these committees, at some time coming back, revisiting them, and working with the subject matter experts that these committees work relate to. And Mayor, you talked about at some time bringing back an audit committee. So with that said, I don't want a lengthy, unhealthy debate. I move the previous question.
Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved and second. Let's vote, please.
Councilmember Baker. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The previous question is to approve this resolution.
I understand that. Go ahead.
Aye.
Khalid, Councilmember Khalid.
Nay.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilliard.
No, why would I get rid of a committee I sponsored, knowing what conditions?
Excuse me, Ms. Gilliard, you must vote. So you must vote yay or nay.
I said no.
Okay.
Councilmember Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs.
Yes.
Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Okay, the motion approved to move the previous question.
Next item, please.
We
There
have
was
to
no-
vote, Mayor. I move that we approve the resolution. So
I'm sorry, Ms. Willis. You're absolutely correct. Go make your motion.
And can I, Mayor, just as
Yeah.
a parliamentary matter, Councilman Khalid had a question that preceded moving the previous question, so there can be no more discussion, but I think that he's still entitled to have his question answered.
Well, I'm in a queue as well.
Well, I answered the question during my explanation.
That's why I missed.
Oh, okay.
I answered the question, Mayor. I answered the question.
Excuse me. When she made the motion, and you opined that she could say why she made the motion, and you know, in the motion to move the previous question, debate stops. Am I correct?
Yeah, the motion to move the previous question stops all debate on issues moving forward, but it doesn't prevent a question that was asked prior to that motion from being answered. So someone can't raise a new issue, but because Councilmember Khalid's question wasn't answered, he's still entitled to get an answer. It sounds like Councilwoman Willis is saying that she did answer his question.
Okay, let's
and if she did, then it's not an issue.
I did answer the question, Mayor, because the city manager said he deferred to the author of the legislation. I answered the question.
Okay, let me do this. Let's move forward. Let's move forward with your motion.
I move that we approve this resolution.
Is there a second? Is there a second to approving the resolution? Second. Okay. Discussion.
Yes.
I moved the previous question, so there's no discussion.
I'm sorry. There's no discussion. I'm sorry. Let's vote. Madam Clerk?
Yes.
Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes,
Yes.
Councilmember Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
No.
Councilmember Reeves,
All right.
Councilmember Khalid,
Absolutely not.
Councilmember Baker.
Nay.
Okay, next item, please.
Motion passes. Next item
Mayor, are you
is-
going to explain as to why? Because
We don't have any more discussion, Ms. Guns. The motion's been carried.
Now, Councilwoman Gums voted in favor, so she can do a motion for reconsideration on the approval.
Is that what she's trying to do?
Why?
If she wants, I'm just saying, if she wants to have discussion, it's her discretion. If she does not want to have discussion.
That's not what you said. You said it's at her discretion to reconsider. Now, I don't know what you mean by that after the vote. Are you looking for her to reconsider?
No, so Councilwoman Gums initially agreed to move the question. So at that point, the question was moved, but because she now appears to no longer support that position, if she makes a motion to reconsider, then she can reconsider because she voted in favor.
Madam Attorney, where did you get that from? Where do you feel that she's at odds with it?
No, I didn't say she's at odds with what you did. I said she wants discussion. And she may not want it anymore. It just appears that based on her comment she just made that she wanted to discuss it.
Okay, you know what? Because you're the parliamentarian, I'm going to put that on the record. Ms. Gums, if you need to say something, please say it, please.
Yes. Again, I do understand that the issue with the finance committee.
So I don't want to. I'm so sorry. So it's not, Councilwoman Gums. It's not that you can discuss it. You can't do that until you get authorization from the entire council. So you would have to move to reconsider because you've already agreed that you're not going to discuss it.
That's what I've been trying to tell you. But go ahead.
So if you could move to reconsider calling the question and approving the ordinance, and then if a quorum,
I think it's fair for the constituents to understand the process and how we'll move from here and the rationale behind why this resolution came about.
So then I move that we reconsider.
You can't coax her into doing anything. It's up to her.
Well, I'm not telling her she should.
Point of order.
Excuse me. I'm talking to the attorney. And my point is, I think you are. And the thing about it is, if she wants to, she is smart enough to make that decision herself, if that's what she wants to do.
I would like to reconsider for discussion.
That's your motion?
That is my motion.
Is there a second? Hearing none, let's move on.
Next item on the agenda is council's second reading and adoption of amending Title 14 Environment Green Builder Community Incentives. Councilmember Rao.
This particular ordinance is in line with our effort to become an ARC Greens community. This is the second read on this particular ordinance. And I don't have, it would provide incentives for to build, develop or embrace green building standards.
Well, I will entertain a motion and get to discussion.
I make a motion to approve the resolution for building green standards.
Is there a
For
second?
the ordinance.
Second, we have discussion. Ms. Gilliard, you're in the queue.
No, I didn't mean to be.
Okay, we'll take you.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
I second.
Gums.
Madam Clerk, will you restate the motion, please?
The motion was to approve the second reading and adoption of the amending Title 14 Green Building Community Incentive.
Let's vote. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Baker.
Did we have discussion?
Yes, we did.
No, we didn't.
Yes,
Because I'm in the queue.
But if you missed it, I don't see you in the queue. I saw Ms. Gilliard. That's why I asked Ms. Gilliard. She said she didn't put her name in.
Never mind.
No, I'll let you do it.
No, it's fine. Let's move on.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Willis. Councilmember Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes.
Yes.
Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Motion approved. Next item, council approval of resolution for community development block grant entitlement program. Councilmember Khalid.
I make a motion to approve this resolution.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Ms. Gilliard's in the queue. Go ahead.
I thoroughly went over it, and well, I went over the plan, and my concern with it is that there is a lot of discussion about partnering with the city of Atlanta, homelessness, other jurisdictions, but there really wasn't nothing in it specifically about the city of South Fulton and its residents. So that really, I don't understand that. I really don't. And it also related back to in a lot of instances about the economic development plan and the data in the plan as it relates to income and housing, et cetera, and that a lot of it was based on Fulton County data, and that data was not, it would not be a big difference. And I beg to differ with that, especially since the National League of Cities, we know that we have to get data down to the neighborhood level if we want to get some accurate data. But there was a lot of discussion about homelessness and affordable housing, and I didn't see anything new in terms of housing, a different dynamic about housing, and it seemed to be the same old thing that in the past didn't work. So I really have more concern about it today than I had a couple of days ago when I was like, oh, this is really going to be great, until I got into the detail, and the devil is always in the detail.
Mayor,
Okay.
may I provide-
Thank you, Ms. Sir?
Mayor, may I provide some context?
Yes, you can, and then we'll go to Councilwoman Rao. Go ahead.
Just want to provide a reminder and a refresher to ask Councilmember Gilliard and others to revisit the memorandum that was distributed. As you may recall, we had less than 30 days to develop and submit so that we can acquire the CDBG funding. Also, as detailed, the city of South Fulton being less than 3 years old, we don't have specific data regarding housing and homelessness, which is why we are moving forward to become a entitlement entity on our own. Our goal is to get the money, have oversight of the program, and then the council and staff have full authority to adjust and create this type of data and provide service specifically to our citizens. Just wanted to provide that reminder and that refresher, as well as an opportunity to revisit the library of memorandums that have been provided.
Councilwoman Gilliard, you're still on the clock. Go ahead, if you want to respond.
I just want to say that after thoroughly reading it, it talks about the partnerships, and there is an awful lot of information about partnering with the city of Atlanta and its homelessness problem. I mean, it's very clear, and it's really, really in the document. And so I don't see how we're going to make a big change if we are submitting the consolidated plan. And in the consolidated plan, it also talks about stakeholders and the citywide information survey as it relates to this plan, which of course I knew nothing about, and the 30-day public comment. So there's a lot of things in it that are really, really new, but there's talk in it about the infrastructure survey, and I haven't seen an infrastructure survey at all. And I constantly talk about infrastructure, but it is what it is.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, Councilmember Rao.
One of the things, thank you. I know we were on a tight timeline to produce this document, but I also think that it's very important that it does, we try to make it reflect a little bit more of our city. I do agree in terms of if we were talking about in the housing realm, it should be the Fulton County Housing Authority and not the city of Atlanta. And so, and I do think our housing, even our homelessness situation is different than the city of Atlanta's. So I hope before the final submission that we looked at the narrative in that document and at least addressed that. I know we may not have a lot of data on our city. I hope more people will complete the census and get our numbers so that they're accurate going forward, but at least we have a 1-year action plan, and next year's plan, we can make more adjustments. But I do think on the housing partner, the more appropriate one when if we're talking about housing authority, because our issues are different.
Okay, Mr. Khalid, hold it, Mr. Khalid. Did you say something, Mr. Manager?
No, I know that Dr. Rowell and I have had those conversations offline, and so those comments were actually included in the public comments, and so I think she's more familiar with the process, but all of those comments that were placed will be considered and made into the final document, and maybe that will also help Ms. Gilliard's recollection that those comments—
I don't need help with my resolution.
Excuse me, Ms. Gilliard, you're out of order. You're out of order.
Well,
go ahead.
Just as a reminder, in those, because I think both of you are touching on those topics and pointing to those items, and I'm basically responding to assure you they are included in the 30-day public comment. And just as an update, we do reference both housing authorities because we can because of where we are situated in Fulton County, we can make referrals to both. So just wanted to remind you of that, and that the items for the 30-day public comment will be placed into the final recommendations for the final document. So I think you hit the nail on the proverbial head.
Okay, Ms. Councilwoman Rao, are you finished?
Yes, again,
Okay.
just think it should be only Fulton County.
All right, we'll end this debate with Councilmember Khalid.
I just want to be clear, Mr. Donald, this is, the city might be eligible for up to about $500,000 or $500,000 in CDBG funds.
That is correct.
And the funds don't only address homelessness, but also affordable housing.
Correct.
And so, so I'm going to say two things. One, just in my limited experience in grant writing and public health, it's always good to partner with or to mention in grant applications, because ultimately we are applying for these funds. It's always good to partner with people who've actually gotten the funds and use them. That strengthens your application. And then lastly, I would just, we do have a homeless problem on Old National Highway. And additionally, with the federal government ending extended unemployment payments and maybe dropping them to as low as $200, in addition to the courts allowing evictions to begin on runoff election day, August 11th, I think that this $500,000 will really come in handy in the coming months to help some of our citizens who I anticipate will be struggling because of this lifting of the moratorium on evictions and the ending of extended unemployment benefits. So that's why I am championing this resolution.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm ending the debate. Madam Clerk, would you restate the motion, please?
Motion made by Councilmember Khalid, second by Councilmember Reeves, to approve the resolution for Community Development Block Grant Entitlement Program.
Let's vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gums,
Yes.
Councilmember Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Abstain.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, next item, please.
Next item is council approval of resolution for NFIP flood participation. Councilmember Rao.
Councilmember Rao.
This particular resolution is to address. This resolution is to allow the city of South Fulton to participate in the National Flood Insurance Program. We're one of the few cities in the state that are not in this program. This was actually brought to my attention by some residents who have had challenges in this area. And so it allows us to participate in this federal program and allow residents to actually get insurance.
I'll entertain a motion. Oh, that Ms. Khalid, are you there?
I make a motion to approve the National Flood Insurance Program resolution.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Khalid, are you in the queue, I think?
Yo, no, I was just seconding the motion.
Okay, it's been properly moved to second. Let's vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Baker.
Mayor, you forgot to ask for a discussion.
I thought I did.
No, you just asked for the
Well,
vote.
let me go back if I didn't. Let's have a discussion. Any discussion?
I'm in the queue.
Okay, no, I don't see it, but go ahead. Go ahead.
I have a question. So, Councilmember Rowell, and I'm asking the author of this legislation, will this allow citywide residents who are currently living in flood zones and who's having problems with insurance companies covering any damages due to flood related unforeseen circumstances? This can explain?
Yes,
Yes, thank you.
yes, then they can get it through yes. It addresses that. And that's the exact reason that I sponsored the legislation, because we have residents who are impacted and can get insurance.
Okay, thank you. And where can they get the insurance? Through what? Is it through a certain specific program, or this allows them to get it through their insurance company?
Sorry, it's through the federal government. I'm sorry, I'm having problems with the mute. It's through the federal government.
Okay, thank you for doing this.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion on the floor that's been motion and second. Am I correct, Madam Clerk?
Correct.
Okay, would you restate that motion before we can vote?
The motion was to approve the resolution for NFIP flood participation. It was motioned by Councilmember Rao, second by Councilmember Gumbs.
Let's vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Baker,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Aye.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs,
Yes.
Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next item, please.
Next item is council approval of the Brianna Taylor no-knock warrant resolution. Councilmember Baker.
Mr. Baker.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'm sure that this is familiar with many of my colleagues and everybody throughout the city of Brianna national attention protests throughout the country and the world due to the no-knock warrant watch work. I'm grateful for this to be up for consideration. Everybody know who she was, a 26-year-old EMT. And this was just really, really poorly executed. And the history behind a lot of this stuff culturally in militarization of heavy weaponry and police work at times. Normally, there's about 60,000 raids each year, and they target disproportionately African-American communities. 80% are against African-American homes and private residences. And 40% of the time they walk away without prosecuting anyone, period. And I guess I don't want to go much further into it other than there was an item that I wanted to change. Madam Attorney, if you could explain, I think it was 50. Line 50, as far as exigent circumstances. I wanted to remove that. Did you have that, Madam Attorney? Can you speak to that?
Yes, Councilman Baker. So, yeah, Mayor and Council, we can easily remove the exigent circumstance requirement.
And that's it. Outside of that, Madam Attorney, that's the only portion I wanted to revisit because I think when we conversed about it, if there are those extreme circumstances, can you speak to it, to those extreme circumstances where the judge would have to intervene?
Yeah, so there'll be situations where, you know, police may walk up and, you know, someone may start shooting. And then obviously at that point, it wouldn't be practical for anyone to, you know, go up to the door and knock before entering the premises. So there's a lot of, you know, just situations that could arise, you know, just in law enforcement purposes where it's not practical for that level of exigency. But the law, there is that the direction you were asking me to clarify, Councilman?
Yes. And that's basically it. I just want to make sure that our citizens are protected, our police are protected. This is something that has historically impacted African-American communities, being born and raised in the city of Chicago, and every day on my way to school, on the school bus, I would ride past the street where Fred Hampton was actually murdered due to a no-knock warrant on December 4th, 1969, same Jay-Z was born. It just sticks in my mind, and these are things that stay with me. Being a resident here for days in the city of Atlanta, where a 92-year-old lady was murdered in her home and she returned the shot. You know, there were situations where law enforcement, you know, acted out out of order, placing marijuana in her house. And, the bottom line is this lady lived throughout, the civil rights era and a very long life to die in her own home, due to a no-knock warrant. And as well as lastly, baby boo-boo.
And a
I think
councilman.
there was a
that?
situation where the bun was Councilwoman Guns, can you mute? I think baby boo boo, they had a grenade thrown in the kid's playpen. He survived, but these are things that don't have to happen. And I'm grateful to council to consider this in our city.
Okay, Mr. Baker, I truly.
And I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Well, I think your approval to me was subject to striking.
Yes, subject to striking the accident circumstances. Yes, ma'am, please.
Yes. Who's second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Baker, I truly understand your concern, but if you allow me at this time, I would like for we're in discussion. I'd like for for our police chief to make a presentation. Mr. Meadows, are you there? Chief Meadows.
Yes, Mayor, I'm sorry, I had a problem unmuting. So I'm actually proud in the city of South Fulton, in the 2 years that I've been here, we haven't done any no-knock warrants, and we use them sparingly. The spirit of the no-knock warrant is basically what the city attorney opined to, is that exigent circumstances, if there are a large number of weapons inside of a residence whereby knocking would put the police officers at a disadvantage, or if there was a miscarriage of justice, which would allow the perpetrators inside to destroy a majority of the evidence inside of the location. And those are the two circumstances under which no-knock warrants are supposed to be sought. Now, throughout the country, police departments have misused that. And after reviewing the circumstances in Louisville, I'm convinced that they misused the no-knock clause for search warrants under those circumstances. But we use those sparingly because we understand the need to have those circumstances present before we seek anyone. And before a no-knock clause is even issued, I have to be the one to approve it in the city of South Fulton. And so those are the circumstances that we put in place. Under no circumstances will we deviate from that. Right now, we have over our PA system, we have a PA system when we go out to execute a search warrant. The PA is so loud that it can be heard for almost one city block, so that people will know that the police department is out there and we're in the process of executing a search warrant. So there won't be any confusion about, who's there and what our intentions are. In fact, we did a search warrant out in Walden Park where we put the PA in, and this elderly woman came out of her house 3 doors down with her hands up in the air because it said, "Come out with your hands up." Well, I went by to console her and we had a conversation and a nice laugh about it. But at the end of the day, we understand the need to make sure that when we're executing search warrants, we do that with the greatest degree of caution. And we want to make sure that we protect our police officers as well as our citizens alike.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Willis?
So yes, my question is to Chief Meadows. Would this resolution prohibit you or prohibit you from initiating a no-knock warrant that is necessary to protect our police staff and also residents that the no-knock warrant is being initiated on? I appreciate the fact that you have not had to use it, but I do understand just from doing my own research, and of course I met with the police in the city of Savannah last week. I spoke with him for 3 hours, and I spoke with other law enforcement personnel. They all said the same thing that you said. The problem with the no-knock warrant incidents were that these no-knock warrants incidents happened because the no-knock warrants were misused. they are necessary, but they should be judge approved and top law enforcement official approved. So my question is, will this resolution prohibit you from approving no-knock warrants in situations that are needed?
The way that it was written, if I understand the city attorney correctly, that we're allowing for exigent circumstances. Is that right, Madam Attorney?
So that is correct. It would stay for subsection B. And then subsection A, we would remove exigency, but it would require still the judge's approval and for it to come before the police chief.
Right. And so under those circumstances, that's the process that we're following anyway.
Right.
The very nature of a no-knock warrant suggests exigent circumstances. And so, I mean, it might be that there's about 40 or 50 handguns in there. It might be semi-automatic weapons. There might be an active shooter scenario, or, I mean, all of these that we're talking about are exigent circumstances anyway.
So if that's what you're currently doing, what is this resolution doing? If that's the policy that is currently in place, what is this resolution doing?
Basically, it's just restating what we're already doing.
Well, it's also mandating that that policy can't change, because right now the police chief has the policy to adjust the SOPs the general orders without going through council. So this would just make it to where that general order could not be changed without the council's consent.
So is that, Mr. Donald, so is that the process right now? The city chief has the authority to change his his SOPs without coming before council, because he submitted his SOP, and we did approve that.
I think that's a better question for legal when you talk about the authority of changing policy and procedures. That wouldn't be appropriate for me to comment on.
Okay.
She has opined on that.
Yes, in November 2019, you guys, I think it was your last meeting, you guys gave him that authority.
Okay.
So we're giving him the authority not to change this policy, this specific policy.
Correct.
Okay, and Chief Meadows, are you okay with that?
I am okay with that, because it's never going to change as long as I'm here anyway.
Okay.
All right.
Anyway, I mean, I want to make sure that clause remain into effect, as long as I'm here. Now, another police chief may come in later on and seek to change it. So having that in place certainly would benefit the body of knowing that that particular policy is about to change.
Okay, Councilmember Willis, are you finished?
Yes.
Okay, Councilmember Rao.
My questions are answered. Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion on the floor?
Yes,
If it is, could you restate the motion, please?
The motion was to approve the Brianna Taylor no-knock warrant resolution with the changes. Motion by Councilmember Baker, second by Councilmember Gilliard and Khalid.
Let's vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes,
Yes.
Councilmember Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Next item, please.
Next item,
Excuse me a minute, we're getting feedback from somewhere. Could someone identify that? Go ahead.
next item is council approval of the Georgia Initiative for Community Housing, City Manager and Cdra.
City Manager.
Yes, sir. Well, I think, again, I've referenced this previously. We provided some information, but I'll defer to Deputy Director of Cdra, Ms. Cummings, to provide insights and answer any questions that the council may have.
Ms. Cummings, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Council and Mayor. The cohort for GIHC CH is an initiative that is underwritten by the University of Georgia, the Georgia Municipal Association, as well as the Department of Community Affairs. This is a 3-year commitment on behalf of the city to participate in a cohort that will allow the city to take advantage of technical assistance from various housing experts over the next 3 years. What you would be able to leverage as a result of participation in this initiative is to come up with a customized housing plan for your city, be able to go through the implementation process of what that plan looks like. And other communities have used this cohort as an opportunity to prioritize their community's housing needs, as well as to bring actual projects to fruition. And the reason that the cohort composition is diverse and made up of a very distinct set of industries is so that have good community representation in designing what your project is going to be. So we've circulated kind of the letter of intent. I believe last year the city of South Fulton had applied for this cohort but was not accepted last year. But this year we feel like we have a stronger application to put forward, primarily because we are seeking entitlement status from HUD. And that is a huge component because the cohort wants to see that we have the ability to be able to leverage our partners and our resources to actually fund some type of housing initiatives within our city. And so with that, that's kind of a high level synopsis of the program. The commitment, it will be 2 retreats that are biannual. The team or the core team that the city assembles to be a part of the cohort can meet at the cadence that is comfortable for them. But this is kind of a fellowship, so to speak, opportunity so that we can be connected with the people at DCA, at the University of Georgia, as well as through the Georgia Municipal Association.
Okay. Is this an action item? Yes, it is. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion, I motion to approve the application for the GIH submission.
Second.
Been properly moved to second. Discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, let's vote.
Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes,
Yes.
Councilmember Willis, Councilmember Willis, Councilmember
On mute, yes.
Councilmember Gilliard, Councilmember Gilliard, Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker,
Aye.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Abstain.
motion passes.
Next item, please.
Next item, council approval to increase spending authority for the new public safety building to Piper O'Brien Air Architects for the design and construction drawings on schematics 3 or 4 in the amount of $17,650.
Mr. Mayor,
Khalid. Mr. Khalid.
I'm sorry. Didn't mean to
Go
jump
right
in.
ahead.
I would like to make a motion to hold this until after executive session.
Second.
Been properly moved in second. Discussion? Ms. Gilliard in the queue. Did you want to say something?
No, I'll wait till executive session.
Okay. All right. Let's vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes, Councilmember Gomes,
Yes.
Councilmember Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
No.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
It has been approved to hold to after executive session.
Okay, next
Oh.
item.
I voted wrong.
Next item, please.
Next item is council first reading to amend Title II, Chapter 5, Business and Occupation Tax. This is the first read.
Any comments? Rowell or Gilliard?
Oh.
Okay, let's move on, Madam Clerk.
The next item is council first read to amend Title 14, Regulation and Protection of Floodplains. Councilmember Rowell and Gilliard.
This just comments. In order to participate in the National Flood Insurance Program that we adopted earlier, we have to have a floodplain management plan in place with the city. And so that's a part of the requirement. And this was put together and developed by the staff.
Okay. Madam Clerk.
Next item is council first reading of amending ordinance Title 6, creating property maintenance regulations. Councilmember Rowell and Reeves.
Any discussion?
Just very quickly, we've heard, just based on the initial post and some feedback from residents, we're going to try to even strengthen this a little bit more to close any gaps that we see in terms of having more aggressive code enforcement and address some of the issues we see across our city.
Okay. Madam Clerk.
That ends council agenda.
Is there
I move
motion?
that we, Mayor, I move that we go into executive session with a 10-minute break prior to executive session to discuss personnel, real estate, and litigation.
There a second?
Second.
It's properly moved in second to go into executive session. Thank you for the 10-minute break. Let's vote, please.
Councilmember Rowell.
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs.
Yes.
Councilmember Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
What is our return time, Madam Clerk?
The return time will be 12:22.
Okay. All right. That passes.
Motion passes. You can go into the breakout room.
Okay. Y'all can have it.
Do we need to close executive?
You're doing the same thing.
I make a motion to reconvene.
Second.
The properly moved in second in discussion. Hearing none, that passes.
No, we have to vote. We have to vote, Mr. Mayor.
I am. Y'all kick me through so much stuff. I keep forgetting.
Discussion and then vote.
Please.
Councilmember Rowell is still stuck in the break room.
Break room.
Councilmember Gumbs.
Yes.
Councilmember Willis. Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Aye.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, it's my understanding, Madam Clerk, that there's a item on the agenda that deals with the police deal that someone needs to take off.
Yes, item number 23, approval of additional spending to Piper O'Brien for the public safety building. It was held until after the executive session.
I make a motion to hold that to our budget retreat.
There a second?
Second.
All right, properly moved in second. Discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
I think we have to have a discussion about our budget calendar.
Well, we're gonna get there.
Okay, all right.
Let me handle this first.
Okay, yeah, I thought we were about to adjourn. So,
No.
okay.
Just want to handle this first.
Call for
Any
the
further
vote.
discussion?
Why?
Hearing none,
Why?
vote, please.
The
Madam
motion on the floor is to hold item 23 until the budget retreat. Made by Councilmember Khalid, second by Councilmember Gilliard. Are you ready to vote?
Can I ask a question?
Discussion, yes, please.
Can I ask a question? If we are if we're moving forward, if we're moving forward to decide upon one building versus the other, why would we be spending another $17 million?
Councilman Gilliard.
Excuse me, no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that.
Mayor,
Who's in the background?
Mayor, would you allow me to chime in very quickly since you're in discussion?
Yes.
Since you're in discussion and Councilmember Khalid has identified holding this until the budget retreat, discussion is probably the appropriate time to review the budget calendar and where those discussions would happen. And then he could likely adjust his motion to both remove this item and accept the budget calendar would be my suggestion.
You don't see that two different issues?
Well, I think if you're going to move this to the budget retreat, which has not been set, and you have a set agenda. Yeah, remember, you can't put new items on the agenda, so you could address it by in discussion. You could review the proposed budget calendar, make your adjustments to that budget calendar. He could then adjust his motion to allow for it to be removed until that time in the approved budget calendar. That is the way that I see you being able to do that. But of course, I would defer to both you and our parliamentarian, the city attorney.
So, city attorney? City attorney.
Yes, can you?
How can we accomplish that without him taking his motion back?
He can amend the motion.
Right.
To just amend your motion to proceed as directed by as suggested by the city manager.
Because it makes sense, Mr. Khalid, because you don't have a date.
We're going to talk about the budget calendar. I'll just withdraw the motion. I'll make a motion after we approve the calendar.
But here's the thing. I don't think, remember, you have one agenda item left. Right. You have voted to, you have now introduced something that requires you to look at the budget calendar because it has not been set or accepted. What I am recommending is, since we are in discussion, you look at the budget calendar and come to some consensus. Once you do, you can amend your motion to include the consensus that you came with, and we can address both at the same time. Otherwise, I'm not sure how you add the budget calendar to the agenda.
We got it.
Okay.
We got it. We understand that. You have Ms. Khalid?
Whatever he said is fine.
So with that, Madam Clerk or Mr. Malazzi, Mr. Treasurer, if one of you could bring up the proposed calendar for them to discuss and review.
Mr. Mayor, I was kicked out of the meeting, so I don't know what I missed. What did I miss?
We were just talking about the budget, having the budget hearing right now, trying to find a date for that.
Were there any votes taken?
Not yet. Not yet.
Vote to
Then right now, Mr. Malazzi and those are asking that Mr. Khalid make a motion. Am I correct?
No, I think they're pulling up the budget calendar now so that we can discuss the budget.
So you can make a motion. All right. Who's it? Mr. Khalid, Mr. Malazzi, are you the one pulling it up?
Actually, Mr.
No, it's the
Adams
clerk.
is sharing his screen right
It's
now.
who?
The
clerk's
Mr. Adams
office.
The clerks they're bringing it up right now, sir. The clerk is bringing it on. They probably need a good 2 minutes, and they'll have us good to go.
I see it.
And so, Mayor, I think since you're in discussion, what I would humbly recommend is that if there are any adjustments to the budget calendar, that at this time, the council provide those, we could include them and include them in Mr. Khalid's motion if he so deemed appropriate to adjust it. I know that there is a need for the millage rate, I believe, a date to be set to hear that. And then I believe it is missing a date for an all-day budget retreat that we tentatively recommended for the 20th, but the council, of course, would give us guidance on that. Those are two pertinent issues, but I would defer to any council member to give us the guidance they deem appropriate.
Are we
without,
in discussion?
without going through the whole thing, does anyone have any recommendations for the budget hearing?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So are we going to do the budget hearing in person? I've noticed that cities have done council members in person and other staff virtually. So are we going to go somewhere and do this person? That's my question to the city manager.
Well, we do it personally. Mr. Khalid can't come.
Yeah, I do believe that man, if the council would like, I'm sure that we could set something up for the council to be in person. I would just tell you, I would feel uncomfortable bringing staff members who, including myself, who have children that they would have to care for and make arrangements for, to bring them to a in-person piece with council and supporting staff. And so how you would want to do that, you would have to give us some guidance and give us a little bit of time to figure out who's the vital people, what would the location be, and some of those details. I think when we proposed it, it was to be virtual, but if it's the will of the council, we will work to, buddy, I'm upstairs, I got it. We would work with the council to meet that recommendation and requirement.
Is there any consensus for doing something like that? I don't think we should.
I don't either.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I would really like, I'm sorry, could we, Madam Clerk, could you make this a graphic a little bit bigger? Yeah, could you zoom in a little bit? Thank you, so we can see the dates. I would really like to go through this line by line. I think that there are a couple of questions that need to be decided, starting with line number 5 about the millage rate. If we are raising, if there is any possibility that we might raise the millage rate, do we need to have more hearings than what is listed on this calendar right now?
Mr. Malazzi?
This calendar accommodates, we put like, if in case you wanted to, if you are not, we are not going to increase taxes, we are going to remove a lot of public hearing in it. So it will become smaller if we are not increasing taxes.
Thank you. So right now it does include the millage rate, this first reading on the 11th and the second reading on the 13th and the third reading also on the 13th. Those would encompass all of the hearings needed if we need to raise our millage rate. We have that part correct, right?
All of them will come out. The only public hearings we'll have will be the budget. There will be nothing on the tax.
My question is, I'm sorry, let me ask this another way. The 11th.
Blown up, because I can't see this.
The meeting on the 11th and the meeting on the 13th. Right now, we have not made a decision about whether or not we're going to raise our millage rate. We will make those decisions on the 11th and the 13th. Does that give you enough time if we keep this calendar with the meeting on the 11th and the meeting on the 13th?
Yes, that does. That means we are going to adopt the millage rate on the 19th.
Got you. So this calendar is fine for millage rate dates.
Yes.
The second issue that I have with the calendar is that August 11th is a runoff election day, so we cannot meet that day. Can we move the days that we have scheduled for the 11th to the 10th. And then my second request would be, we already have the 12th scheduled. We've already published that date as a work session. I believe that we will need a second day to do department presentations. So we would do the department presentations and the millage, we would do the department presentations half on the 10th, half on the 12th, and we would do our first millage rate hearing on the 12th. So I would like to make a motion to make.
Let me hear what Mr. Malazzi says about that.
Goes.
Mr. Malazzi.
So we are working towards, we are having increased tax rate, right? As long as you can give us that we start the Mirage rate increase on Thursday, the rest can make changes, but we have to start this coming Thursday for increasing Mirage rate. The rest you can change. And the adoption will be on the 19th of August.
So you're saying that in order to have the millage rate hearings on the 12th and the 13th, we need to tell you now what to advertise the millage rate as.
That's true. Because we have deadlines to send our publications to the press, and we have to have the date. We have deadline on this coming Thursday to send our publication to the press. That
so I would move
day, which will be on the 5th.
I would move that we advertise the millage rate increase of 12.8, whatever it is. It doesn't mean that that is going to be our millage rate.
12.399, you mean?
No, 12.8.
12.399, you don't need to advertise.
Okay.
The 12.8,
I got you, Mr. Khalid. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we're advertising at 12.8.
99.
12.899.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that we're saying that's what it's going to be, but that we have that advertisement so that we can go ahead and announce our 2 millage rate hearings.
You can.
So that's my first motion.
Once we have advertised that 12.899, you cannot increase it, but you can reduce it.
Right. So that's just law. There was a motion. Mr. Khalid made a motion. Is there a second?
I said second. Yes.
Okay. It's been properly moved and second. Any discussion?
Discussion. Does that 12 point, does that millage rate includes the $500,000 increase that we discussed?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a $500,000.
Yeah, it does.
Mr. Adams, can you make bigger? That's for the, if we are increasing, that's the schedule that is being put up there. If you can make it bigger.
So
does anybody have any questions on Mr. Khalid's motion?
Yeah, I'm finished. My second question is, are you saying that our first public hearing will be July 30th, Thursday?
No, July 31st is the transmission of the budget. There will be no public hearing. I think should be on the 5th, I think.
So what's this July 30th date?
When he has to submit the
I see it.
advertisement.
Submission of advertisement. Okay.
Right.
To the press.
I couldn't see it. That's why I asked him to blow it up.
So here is the one, July 5th, it has to be published, but we have to send it to the press by Thursday, the 30th.
Okay. Any other discussion?
And those are the dates when it will be adopted.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, let's vote, please. Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Rao.
Before you do that, Madam Clerk, would you restate the motion?
The motion was made by Councilmember Khalid, seconded by Councilmember Baker, that we advertise the millage rate at 12.899.
Okay.
Councilmember Rao.
Yeah.
Councilmember Gumbs.
Yes.
Councilmember Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Motion passes.
That's unanimous.
My second motion is to have the department presentations start August 10th and conclude August 12th with the first millage rate hearing on August 12th. Right now in the calendar, it's all supposed to happen one day, August 11th, and I'm asking that we do it August 10th and August 12th.
Is there any problem with that, Mr. Malazzi?
That is Mr. Donald.
Mr.
Point
Donald?
of order. Yes.
Okay,
Point of
Mr.
order.
Donald, you see any problem with it?
Any
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Go out there and talk to him in the meeting.
Mr. Mayor.
What's your point of order?
Sir, we were in a discussion for an actual motion made by Councilman Khalid that was being held. Councilman Khalid made another motion while we were already in discussion for the initial motion.
Yeah.
And I think that the clerk should be able to clarify that.
Well, clerk, you definitely clarify that because we had one motion on the floor and that's what we voted on, as I heard.
It was before that.
Yeah, you started off, this whole conversation started off, you were in discussion from Mr. Khalid's original motion to remove an item and place it on the budget calendar.
Yes.
And so in effect, in discussion, what you should be doing is, now that you have talked through what you want to do, so you just talked through one item, I don't think you make a motion on that. I think you come to consensus on each one of these areas. Once you complete each one of these areas, Mr. Khalid restates his motion that includes all of these changes for the body to be able to accept and vote on comprehensively.
Mr. Donald, with all respect, I thought that's what we were doing.
Well, he just made a separate motion within his discussion.
Within the motion. That's why I called point of order.
Yeah, I don't
Okay,
think
I got you.
that. Yeah.
What was Mr. Khalid's motion, Madam Clerk?
The motion was to move item 23 to the budget retreat.
And so, Mayor, when he did that, you were in discussion. And the purpose for bringing these items up in the discussion was flesh out the budget calendar, the millage rate discussion, all of those items. And then once you flesh it out in discussion, you can now move back to his motion that he can restate, and then you can approve it.
Okay, so to cure these, can we just say that these next few things that we're doing right now are not motions, but they're just calls for consensus? Can we say that we have a consensus for the millage rate of 12.899? And can I now ask for consensus of having the department presentations on August 10th and August 12th?
Okay, does that interfere with anything, Mr. Khalid? I'm not Mr. Khalid, but Mr. Malazzi or Mr. Donald?
No, sir, we will.
Okay. Let's take a consensus vote.
Discussion.
This is a consensus.
Councilmember Rao?
I guess, but I thought we were getting video footage from the budget hearings with the department heads.
Yes, ma'am. So I can give you quick clarity on that. The first thing is you will absolutely receive that, but we will not complete our budget meetings until like Thursday. We're doing those deliberations throughout the week and we'll provide those. You still have department head meetings here. This is just giving you additional context because, and I'm glad you asked that, because I want to put this on the record and I want the clerk to record it. Unlike we have not had as much time to put this budget together. So I have advised you in advance that there will be errors in the budget. And so we're gonna deliver that on the 31st, but to give you as much insight as possible, you will also get video recordings of our deliberations and decision-making in creating the draft budget.
Okay.
So you will see
then I'm fine. I'm fine.
Your
then.
vote is yes?
Yes.
Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Gomes?
Yes.
Councilmember Willis?
So this is for us to have the meeting for 2 days?
Yes.
I guess yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Okay, this consensus is unanimous.
Okay.
So if that is, those are my only changes. So my motion now, if I am free to make it, would be, I'm sorry, could you just scroll down to the bottom of this calendar? My motion would be.
Before you do that, Mr. Khalid, let me ask, is there any other changes from anybody else?
Yeah, so Mr. Mayor, have we changed, I mean, maybe I missed this, but did we change election? We changed the August 11th to August 10th?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The only other suggestion I do have, Mayor, if you recall last year, we got like 6 iterations of the budget. Can we, I mean, I'm hearing Mr. Donald putting on record that there will be errors in the budget. Can we minimize the iterations because it made it very confusing last year?
Well,
remember, you only received one version of the budget from the city manager's office. The other iterations of the budget are supposed to be the CFO accepting and recording your changes and then providing them back to you. Depending on the number of changes you make and when you make them, it depends on the number of versions he provides to you of the budget.
And the third party report that we got from the company, Mr. Mayor, one of the things that was mentioned is that the council
Councilman Willis, so that's still a privileged document until until you guys complete whatever investigation you're doing into the finance. So you can't disclose the contents of that.
Okay, so let me restate that I hear what you're saying, Mr. Donald, but information, we receive several iterations of the budget and we still got inaccurate information.
And that is a transmission between the council and the city treasurer. So I will defer to that as it is fully within your purview to make any request within that relationship.
okay. Miss Willis, are you asking a question to Mr. Malazzi?
I'm good.
Okay. Hearing no one else, Mr. Khalid.
Yes. So one thing, this document has no times on it. I am going to assume that all of these meetings will start at 10 a.m. except for our work session, obviously on the 8th, which starts at 4 p.m. And I also assume that on the days where we have 2 hearings, like the 12th and the 20, on the days that we have 2 hearings, the first hearing will be at 10 and the second hearing will be at 6.
Again,
is there any comment on the time assumptions by Mr. Khalid?
Yes, I mean, I just want to make sure that may be okay with the Khalid, but some individuals have jobs, so I want to make sure that we don't compromise the employment of others who have jobs. If that's going to work with other council members who have businesses and jobs.
That's why I asked about your comments on the time assumption. Anybody else?
It's fine for me.
Okay.
All right.
Mayor and Mr. Khalid, you may want to inquire with the city treasurer on any of those requirements because he would specifically be managing that budget process and that coordination. I don't know what the requirements are there, so I think you should at least hear from him to make sure he confirms that consensus on those dates and times.
Mr. Malazzi.
Can I have the clerk's office put up that tax advertisement and public hearings, because this calendar will be based on that one.
What happened? The sound is gone.
We're still here.
Oh.
Been in this meeting all darn day. Oh God.
Your mute button is not on, Miss Helen.
Can you make bigger so that at least
I don't know. I can see it.
we will have the reports sent out, the advertisement on the 30th, and we will have our first publications on the 5th. We'll have our public hearing on the 12th. Then on the very same 12th, we'll make an advertisement for the public hearing and adoption of the Mirage rate on the 19th. So on the 19th, we'll have first and second public hearing on the 12th, and we'll have the third public hearing and adoption of Mirage rate on the 19th. So we can put hearings in this. And we can adopt this line put into our calendar, but this is the controlling factor of our Mirage rate. The budget will follow into this because we'll be having Mirage rate increase.
Does this document conflict with anything we've already done? Mr. Malazzi?
I don't think, because it is on the 12th, I think Councilman Karid moved from 10th or 11th to 12th. So
right.
We'll have two public hearings in the morning and in the afternoon.
All right.
Then the final public hearing and adoption of Mirage rate would be on the 19th. So I think some of the, if we have before the 12th of the budget hearings, we may want to consider those two dates, the 12th and the 19th.
So there is no conflict?
There is no conflict so far.
All right.
Thank you. That the tax commissioner will be sending the Mirage rate, the bidding end of August.
Okay.
So just to be clear for the record, I move that we split the 11th to the 10th and the 12th. That's what we voted on, but
he did.
So now I'm going to move with a calendar as amended, that we hold item 23 from today's meeting till the adoption of the final budget on September 15th.
Second. Properly moved in second. Discussion. Hearing none, let's vote, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes,
Yes.
Councilmember Willis,
No.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay.
61.
All right.
Finally, yes.
Is there any other business?
Mr. Mayor, could I just ask for our clerk, because I know this was very confusing, if she could send out a list with the meeting dates and all of the meeting dates and times
Absolutely.
we have in August, including our regular council meetings and work sessions, just so we can see that full count.
Yeah, that absolutely, I agree with that.
Thank you.
Is there any other business? I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Properly moved and second in discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Mayor.
Hey.
We are carrying a vote.
Yeah,
All
I
those in
had
favor?
discussion. Quick. Congressman Lewis' funeral is on Thursday at 11 a.m. Is there a reason why the city is not flying their flag half staff?
They will be flown half staff.
Okay, because we didn't get that notification.
Yeah, they will be flown half staff. And they were also asking for a moment of silent prayer. All right. Any no other discussion? All those in favor, Madam Clerk?
Councilman Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes,
Yes.
Councilmember Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid, Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Motion passes. Meeting's adjourned.
Y'all have a remainder of this day.
Thank y'all. South Fulton forever.
Enjoy your day.
Woo.